Folks, shifting gears into another subject briefly, and then we'll continue the story that Dan Winters was telling about this shoot for Esquire. And we're going to get into some other important issues with him while we're scrolling great photos he's taken in the background. For radio listeners, you'll be able to see this archived at prisonplanet.tv. Charlie Sheen quits 2.5 Men. And I don't normally get into entertainment news, but this is not really stemming from the problems he's had. You know, good friend of mine, 9/11 truther, really smart guy, great guy. I can just tell you all the stuff you've heard in the news. It's made up or exaggerated. And his enemies will, declare victory. But a year ago, he told me he wanted this to be his last season. And just a few months ago, he told me before the thing happened on Christmas Day that he probably wasn't going to re-up his TV show. But here's the New York Post. Troubled, Charlie Sheen says he's leaving hit CBS TV show 2.5 Men at the end of the season. Sheen, who returned to a men's set last month after a stint in rehab, will call it quits after taping his final episode April 9th. See, that's not even true. I know Charlie. He wasn't drinking, wasn't using drugs, drinks way too much coffee and smokes Marlboro Reds. So I spent a lot of time with him. But he went to basically a spa so that under the stress he wouldn't go back on alcohol or drugs that he'd been off of for years. So that's a lie here from his enemy, the New York Post. But his spokesman, Stan Rosenthal, did not deny the report. Charlie's deal is only through this current season, he told People. So there's the inside scoop here, folks. Charlie quit because he wants to spend time with his family and is sick of 8+ seasons. And the New York Post and others are spinning this like his problem with his wife, Brooke, who's a nice person, like that's why he's quitting. That may have been the cherry on top, but there's that info. Dan, I apologize for digressing off into fluff, but Charlie's my friend. I wanted to back him up and set the record straight.
Yeah, I don't think it's fluff. He's done some good work, I think.
Well, everybody's human, and people love to see somebody big in trouble. Right. And even when Limbaugh got caught in stuff worse than what Sheen's involved in, I wasn't cheering his downfall, even though I disagree with him passionately, because I only cheer for real tyrants going down. People like Hitler or Stalin or Mao.
I agree totally, and I think you're absolutely right about that. I think we love watching people ascend the ladder, but we like watching the ladder fall over much better. And it's what I think it is I think that the media and the way the media works and the way publishing works, et cetera. And I'm a part of it, so I mean, I'd be one. I should be pointing the finger back at myself. But the idea is to create a lure so that someone feels larger than life. And I think we talk about why film and why celebrities, specifically like actors and film, why for some reason it is such a part of our collective consciousness. And I think it's for that very reason. I can go see The Hurt Locker, and you can go see The Hurt Locker completely separately, but we have an experience that provides connectivity. And so you and I both now are connected through seeing that film. We can talk about it. We can talk about the issues around it, et cetera. So I think that's one reason. And, it stems.
And I think it's sick wanting to see somebody fall.
Absolutely.
When this happens to our own families and neighbors. This is sick. This shows a sickness, and I see it getting progressively worse, that people love to see somebody in trouble. But I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Well, I think to get to what you're saying right now, too, I think that when someone gets really angry at someone who's suffering, rather than look at it from love and detachment and with compassion, I think it says something about the individual, that's thrown the stones. He who is without sin, may he cast the first stone. I mean, to do a biblical quote, it's absolutely spot on. We are all fallible. We're all failed. We all have our own problems. I realized several years ago that, the one thing that we all have in common is that we all have problems. Period. We all have problems. And I think our role in life is to try to work through those problems.
And that's the human condition.
100%. So, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I only want to bring down people that are hurting masses of innocents and who are consciously setting people up, consciously hurting others, consciously launching wars, torturing people, betraying. That's why I hate these politicians. Bush, of course, and Obama, expanding wars, wiretapping, continuing the torture, continuing the arrest, and watching him use all of this hope that people had put into him against them. And again, I don't personally hate Obama. I know he's a puppet who they plan to destroy. It's just that I realize that the institution itself is just so ruthless.
Yeah, the institution, and I think that's a good point. I worked with him. He seemed like one of those guys you'd want to go out and have a beer with. He seemed like a totally cool guy. I believe, truthfully, that when he was campaigning, he has a lot of, ethos that he adheres to, that he really believes in. But I think when you get in that office and the first day that you're briefed, it's all bets are off. The first day it was like, we're closing Guantanamo, and I saw a photograph recently that was the most ironic photograph. It was a picture of one of the guards or one of the officials at Guantanamo hanging his photo up in the lobby when you come in. It was the most ironic image, considering, if you've ever been to a military installation, when you walk in the main building, there's the chain of command. So, you'd walk in a building during Bush's administration, and Bush was in the middle, and then on either side there were photographs of the chain of command that goes down. So at Guantanamo, there's the chain of command, and there's Obama, the photograph of Obama right in the middle. And, once again, I truly believe, like, I won't weep when Kissinger drops. I won't weep when Rockefeller drops. I don't think honestly anybody will. And that's really unfortunate, that they've lived a life like that. But, once again, I try to view these things.
Yeah, their human journey is just a tragic event of power and avarice. Now, I interrupted you with a break. Let's go back to that Esquire piece that you were talking about. Recap it and then tell us about it.
Okay, the assignment, to get back to it, Esquire was doing a piece on airport security, and the idea of, how difficult, my assignment was, Dan, research and illustrate how difficult it would be to take down an airliner. And initially I thought, well, that's kind of an irresponsible job. It's kind of irresponsible to illustrate that. But then I thought about it, and I thought, well, it's actually more irresponsible not to illustrate how easy it is, because anybody that wants to take down an airliner is going to take down an airliner, period. They're going to do it. They're going to do the research required, and they're going to figure it out. So I started looking into it, and I spent several hours on the internet, and I came up with a formula for an explosive that was non-detectable by the screening that's used now, which is all carbon-based detection. This is a chemical element. It's got 80% of the destructive power or the explosive force of TNT, and it can be made at your house. It can be carried. So the method I came up with is this. You get three guys working together, and this is all based on the fact that these guys are going to off themselves, but there doesn't seem to be a shortage of guys that are willing to
and you're doing this drill to try to stop this from happening,
or to try to illustrate to people, like, hey, look how easy this is. Look how easy it would be to do this. And it's almost like a wake-up call. It's like, oh my God, we think these guys are the security is such a Band-Aid. It's right after 9/11, what was it like? You couldn't walk 2 feet away from your bag without getting scolded, right? Now it's like, I'll leave my bag at the gate, ask someone to watch it, go to the bathroom, come back. It's like no one's worried. There was National Guard in the airport when it...
But we go back to the point that most of it's manufactured. Have you had time to see the underwear bombing?
I totally agree.
The State Department says they were ordered by a U.S. intelligence agency to help them get on the plane.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. So it's the same thing. It's the whole idea of, like, you keep them in fear. Threat level orange, threat level yellow, threat level red. I laugh when I hear that stuff when I'm at the airport, because it reminds me of that Goering quote. It's like, keep them in fear, keep them feeling like they're being repressed. Let me get back to the Esquire thing. So I figure out the whole process to do this. You get three guys. You have two guys carrying the explosive device in their groin. Once again, usually, and this might be changing, but usually, even with a pat down, they don't go right to that area. So you can get that in, and then you take in a 9-volt battery, some wire, a couple flashlight bulbs. I used a timer. Was a timer off of a dog feeder, right, that I bought at Academy or something. And so I took the idea is you take all this stuff in independently, which is it'd be very easy to get in. The only thing I thought would be difficult was maybe some duct tape. So I thought, well, what you'd do is you'd line your entire bag with duct tape, and then you could get it in, and then you could pull the strips off and use it. But then you go into the little kiosk, you buy a couple bottles of Coke, and you all go to the men's room. One guy goes into the handicap stall. He spends about 15 minutes assembling the thing, getting it all ready to go, puts it on his bag, takes it into the plane. And then the research further was, well, okay, so he blows it up in the plane. It might compromise, the hull. It might do this, it might do that, but it probably wouldn't take it down. So what you do then, which is also another one of these ridiculous Band-Aids, is that, once 9/11 happened, they reinforced all the cockpit doors. They made these Kevlar doors. You can't get in. But what they didn't do is they didn't reinforce the bulkhead behind the captain or the co-pilot. All they did is do a door. So 757 and a couple other aircrafts have in the first class cabin, they have a bathroom that immediately backs up against the cockpit. So you go in there and you detonate it, and it's done. And, this was, 6 hours of research on my part. And so the idea is that it's incredibly simple to do this stuff.
How long ago did you do that for Esquire?
It was like 2 years ago. And I wish I had brought that image with me, because what I did is I did a still life of all of the elements that were required.
What should we Google? Dan Winters, Esquire, how to bomb a plane?
Let's see, do that. It was Esquire or Best Life. I'm thinking, after I said Esquire, I was thinking it might be Best Life. Do Dan Winters' Best Life bomb, and I bet it'll...
Dan Winters' Best Life bomb. Did you guys have any luck? Because he wanted to also show people how fake the photo is with the newspaper and the rifle of Lee Harvey Oswald in the front yard where the shadows are all wrong.